Have you guys ever wanted to know the background between any sports you played in the past? Because for me, I always wanted to know how baseball became invented. So I took a class my junior year in high school to kind of get background information on all different sports. So there's a lot of different ways that baseball became popular. So I'm going to talk about the origins of baseball, like how it first came up, the first game played, and then also in the beginning they were paying players and weren't supposed to. So the first thing is the history of baseball. It was founded by Alexander Cartwright in 1792. Wait, 1845. This is the New York Knickerbockers, which was the actual first baseball club, as they say, because it wasn't founded into a league right away. It started as more of a club, and then a lot of the rules they set right off the bat were the same as today, besides you used to be able to throw the ball at the person in order to get them out and just beam them with the ball. But definitely changed that one because it started a lot of fights and everybody was getting real mad at each other, so they started fighting and everything was just going crazy. It originated from rounders and cricket. They're two different English games, and it all started with the pitcher throwing a ball at the batter was called a striker, and you just had to hit. It's basically the same. The ball was made out of wool yarn and cowhide, which still is today. I think they corked some stuff into it, but it's all the same for the most part. The first game played, it started as an amateur sport. So that's the Cincinnati Red Stockings, which was actually the first organization founded. And then I'm pretty sure that one turned into the Cincinnati Reds. And it was coached by Harry and George Wright. They were also players, so it was kind of like a player-coach kind of thing. You didn't have a coach who just coached your team. He literally was on the team too. So it's kind of weird how we developed today, because now coaches used to play in the league, but now they don't participate anymore. The first league was the National Association. It kind of hit a bump and went downhill. So that's how the National League was founded, which we still have today. And then on top of that, more clubs were formed, and it really focused more on the clubs, and the players didn't have as much focus on them because it was more just oh, we kind of get your money, you're just here playing for us for fun. So once the clubs came up, you of course had to pay them, but when they first started, they weren't supposed to get paid because it was just for fun. It was an amateur sport, and then eventually they started paying them secretly, and then Fergus Malone was the first paid guy, and he was the highest paid, starting at $2,800, which is kind of crazy to think about, because today that won't do much for you at all. And then today, the top paid as of last year was Steven Strasburg, making almost $39 million a year. And it's just crazy because the cost of living's gone up so much since baseball first started. They used to make a living off of that. And so in the end, there's a lot of thought that went into the game. Mostly Alexander Cartwright coming up with the ideas and how they still affect today. Because if you think about it, most sports, they really don't have the same rules as back then. It was a lot more, I wouldn't say difficult, but not safe. So it's just kind of crazy to think about. And the first game was also played by the Red Stockings, and the cost for players has also gone up drastically. And the Knickerbockers were the first club founded.